I got here 6 years ago, and I'm grateful because when I moved in, I didn't know I had a neighbor like Dave. Hello, everybody. How are you? My name is Dr. Linda Salvin, and welcome back to Psychic Solutions Podcast. For the next hour, we'll be talking about my neighbor. My neighbor's an Emmy Award-winning videographer and editor, and he does all the graphics that you see here on the show. So whenever I have an opening, or if you see some of the graphics and the thumbnails that are changing on the internet, or when we open the show on any of the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shows, my friend and neighbor, Dave Swafford, who's going to come on now, is the man behind the creativity and the genius behind helping me get all this techie stuff going. Hello, Dave. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. A couple of people in the audience will ask, like, what goes on in producing the show? They think you just sit down at the mic and there you go.
Oh, no.
They have no clue about the back end,
It's the hours and hours it takes to make these graphics, and then all the preparation that you have to do to get the show going.
Yeah.
A lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. People think you just sit down, adjust a mic and, hi, how you doing?
Nope.
No. Dave, thankfully, has had the patience of God. When I say, no, I don't like this, I don't like that. Well, I'm changing this, I'm changing that. We're changing the name, we're changing the color, we're changing. Nope, we forgot this. Nope, we forgot that. And he edits and edits. And then it goes to the station back in Florida when we're here in California. And then it goes over to Rebel, who's in Louisiana, who's producing the show. And then if I'm making changes, it has to keep going through the webmaster. And then I have to keep the wheel turning, and it's edit. It's very time consuming. So thank you for all your patience.
Well, it's best to have a good attitude towards things, and change is part of life, but it's definitely part of this show.
Oh, it is definitely part of this show. This show is a spiritual show. It's a psychic show. I bring guests on. Got a lot of musicians coming on in the future. I think the Tuesday might be Tuesday Tunes or something like that for a while, as opposed to just health and wellness, which I cover all the time anyway. But you have a big background in the entertainment industry because I introduced you as an Emmy Award-winning editor. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I majored in music and composition in college, and also had a minor in radio and television. It was kind of one of those easy ways out that, you go to school and you learn things, but moved to San Francisco like 3 days after graduation with a job, worked there for 2.5, almost 3 years, and then came down here to LA because, I wanted to be part of the big show. And I did have some editing skills, and that helped me get my foot in the door, and just kind of, you start at the bottom and you work your way up. And so I ended up at Warner Brothers, and I worked there for 17 years. Before that, did 12 years at PBS, making documentaries and things like that.
So I got the Emmy when you were
that's where,
right?
Right. It was one of the documentaries that I'd made about, it was Paula Poundstone, and it was behind the scenes of one of her comedy shows. And so she walked around and was talking about different artists. Pablo Picasso was one of them. And, he had that kind of oddball style of his, and so she'd just crack jokes about that as she walked around it was the Museum of Modern Art, here in LA.
Yeah.
And so it turned out really nice.
Angular, and he had like eyeballs coming out of a triangle, or the people on the side. He had a warped sense of humor and sight, but his work is worth millions.
Yeah, and we were going to do some on Salvador Dali, but then she ran into some personal problems, and her career took a nosedive.
Yes, it did.
But I did garner an Emmy Award out of that. Best
do you have
editing.
It in that room that you're sitting in, or is it out in the back studio?
No, this was at
no, is the Emmy, do you have it
on
the
mantle? It's in the back.
Yeah, next time we'll bring it on and we can show everybody your
bring
Emmy.
It on. I'll show everybody.
You even took it to your high school reunion, didn't you?
I did. And it actually got damaged in the on the airplane. They
no.
threw it was in my luggage, and how they
Oh,
throw
yeah,
throw
must have
garbage. So
knocked it
it broke, but
over.
I glued it back, and it's fine. And so as long as nobody touches it and doesn't roughhouse with it, it'll hold up. But that's one of my proudest achievements. And
Yeah.
so I ended up working at Warner Brothers for several years, many years, and kept a network on the air, basically. So I'm used to having picky producers making minor changes at the last minute, and like, oh, this is the wrong color, or this should say this.
Or
So
we font, or we did this, or we keep changing. But it's also part of the evolution in the creative process, isn't it?
I consider it good practice for me. If you don't do something more often or over and over again, you kind of lose it,
Well,
or you
I got
forget how
lucky
to.
when I moved here 6 years ago, so people know we keep getting a couple of, questions about your background, so before I answer some of them, I got here 6 years ago, and I'm grateful because when I moved in, I didn't know I had a neighbor like Dave. I saw him helping the landlord, do the foliage and do some of the gardening, and then I said hello, and then we started talking, and then I got him involved with some of the graphics, and then I was doing laser lipo for people, and he went, what did you go up down, like 20 pounds in a month or something with the
Oh yeah,
laser?
something
You
like that.
did
Yeah.
great. We did pictures. Dave's the photographer on all the candles of Wicks of Wisdom at
Oh yeah, on
wicksofwisdom.net.
your website, all those candles, all
All
those
those, you
pictures.
did that. You did
Hmm.
everything. You've done all the graphics here on the show. You helped me put together the podcast and radio system on the website and made the graphics. You've done a lot of work over that. Kept you busy for 6 years as I keep
Right.
growing.
Well, I was lucky enough to take early retirement from Warner Brothers, and so they paid me off, and I took a few other jobs after that, but I was lucky enough to retire early,
And you have time
and
for me when I say, hey, Dave, I need you.
yeah, and so now this has become
Fun.
more of a hobby. It's a fun hobby for me,
Yeah, no,
and so
I'm
I
very
enjoy doing
grateful.
it, and I enjoy working with you, and
Thank
it's,
you.
it's
Yeah, it's
all
been a
worked
lot of
out fine.
fun. We have
Mhm.
a few questions. Let's see what those are again. Somebody wanted to know if you knew right out of high school what you wanted to do, so you just got that job.
I did. I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
You're
They
lucky.
had aptitude tests when we were in high school, and of course, in Olympia, Washington, that's where I was born and raised. Um, n- a lot of the industry was timber and logging and factory work and things like that.
And you
So the
wanted
aptitude,
entertainment, rock and roll, and get out of
none of that.
Dodge.
No, none of that. And so the aptitude test that I took said I would be a good welder.
Oh,
And I thought,
of course
well,
it did. Well,
I'm
yeah,
not
working
sure.
with your hands, I could see that
Yeah, and so
much.
and I ended up welding pictures together and images. So in a sense, it was true, but I was a little taken aback by, I don't want to be a blue collar worker. And so, you know, I decided to go on to college, and right out of college, I got lucky and
Yeah,
got a job. But
yeah.
I knew something was going on when late night, my parents let me stay up late one night and watch the Johnny Carson show. And the cameraman spun around and showed the audience, and he showed the cameras and the crew and the audio guys and the boom arms with the microphones. And
And it
that
hit.
just, it's like, whoa, that looks very interesting to me. And I just kept that in the back of my mind all through growing up.
That's cool. When I was young, and I was saying to you before we came on, Sunday I was at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, which is all about the history of Grammy award winning musicians
Hmm.
and songwriters.
Yeah.
And the Clive Davis Auditorium, I don't know if you've ever been there, they put on a production of the Beatles songs from 1962 to 1966, and a lot of the major names, including Carney Wilson, who I got a picture of. I didn't upload it, but they sang 33 Beatles songs in 2 hours. And they were
Wow.
talking about how back then they were only in their 20s when they wrote all those
Hmm.
magnificent hits. But the whole audience was our age. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, all these seniors. Yeah, we were the kids. I was 10
Yeah.
when the Beatles hit Ed Sullivan, And here we are. I'll be 70 in 5 weeks. And it's just hard to believe that we keep going, but the essence of ourself is always the same. I knew I wanted to be in music as a child, but I took a lot of left turns in the medical world and health and wellness. But somehow the soul keeps going. The intimacy with music is always there. You have always had the inkling to play. You play, how many, what you got? 15 guitars hanging on your
Oh,
walls, and
at least,
drums and
yeah.
basses.
Oh,
This
I
guy's
still
got
play
more.
music every day.
Do you? I'm going
Yes.
to start again. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm finally ready, and I got a new producer. What was the last question, please? What did you ask? Was it country? Who just popped up? There we go. How many things have you voiced in your time? Oh my God. Dave didn't voice this show. That's Fred. Fred was on the show a couple of months ago doing astrology. So that's another piece of the work that goes on. I come up with an idea. I go to Dave for the graphics, and I have to go to Fred with the writing and the sample of the wording that needs to go into the presentation. And then that gets forwarded to Dave, and Dave takes the words of the voiceover and then creates the graphics, like you saw at the beginning of this with the plane crash, the fire truck, a car accident, which is part of my background, but he brings it to life in the visual. That's Dave's creativity.
Right.
With
In the
Fred.
beginning, I did do the voiceovers, but
That's
my
right.
voice is not broadcast worthy. And then
It's soft, but you don't. Yeah, Fred's.
yeah,
Hippie.
and Fred's is he knows how to punch things up, at the right places, and it grabs your attention, and it's just a real broadcaster's voice.
Well, everybody's got a talent.
Mhm.
I don't discuss why I didn't do my music right now, people. It's just what I don't talk about. And I was offered 2 record deals, one in 1982 and one in 1994, and I walked away from both of them. But ended up in radio. But the opportunities of creativity aren't just music and acting and writing. It's all of this and everybody's reels and everything that goes out on the internet today. It's all creative thinking, and it's all this digital stuff that we didn't grow up with. That alone has been a learning curve. And when I've come over and you show me your new computer, and I show you show me all your new the colored keyboard and how everything goes, that would take me hours to learn, but that's your thing. And then you do your music. But let's get into candle magic for a moment,
Okay.
because when I moved in, and you've got another neighbor and who lived here before, was pretty active in the music industry. She was in a major band.
Yes.
And so you're used to having creative energy around you, but you never had a psychic. You never had somebody that talks to dead people. You never had a healer, let alone do candle magic. So let's go that way. Like, when you found out I was a psychic, what did you think? You were probably more judgmental, a little skeptical, I believe.
Well, yeah, the neighborhood that we live in is
It's not.
full of creatives. Everyone is pretty much a high achiever.
Very.
And very successful, and all of them are in the entertainment business. Producer director lives across the street. Record producer lives next door to him. He produced Hootie and the Blowfish.
Blowfish, and next door to him, or 2 doors down, was the former president of NBC, who's now at Fox.
He's at Fox. He went to Channel 11
he's
now.
At Fox now. Yeah.
And across the street is a working magician who puts on shows.
I thought that's next door to you. Isn't that next door?
It's 2 doors down.
Oh,
and he's a magician. So everybody on our street and on our
huge.
block
They're huge.
is in some kind of creative. But then you moved in,
the whole world,
and it was like, are you going to fit into this scene? Because I'm friends with everybody on the street, so I was just wondering, and then just through helping your landlord with his duties and maintaining your house, that I got to know you a little bit, and you were selling candles and doing readings, and I thought, oh, that is very strange.
What's she doing here?
Yeah.
And then you find out I've been on TV. I've been on radio for 30 years. Then I've got songs on my player that I've written. You didn't know what to expect.
Well, you gave me some links to some of your videos and some of the shows that you've been on.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, this is
She's
the
a
real
celebrity,
deal here.
and she didn't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm
a
idea.
low-key celebrity. Yeah. Yeah. Been doing it a long time. And I've got a TV show on the block now. Now the strike is over, we're talking again. So there's that. And then
that's good. Yeah.
I just got I took an ad out in Talkers magazine, which is like the Bible of the radio industry. And a friend of mine for 30 years is a GM over there. And I said, I think I should take out an ad and let people know I'm back. because AM, FM terrestrial is very different than internet
Oh,
days.
it's
right?
changed. Yes.
It's very different, but my name is still out there after 30 years, and then it went down because of this shift. So David said, let's put some ads out and see what happens and get you back out there. So I get a phone call about 3 weeks ago from a woman in Washington, D.C., and she saw the ad. She goes, nobody out there does what you do. People need to hear what you do. You're coming back. So she's a manager and an agent and a publicist, and she takes a very select group of people for her stable of talk show talent. And she signed me. So in January, she's going to get me on the FM back on the terrestrial shows and get my name back out there. So between the internet and the podcast, which will be some, but I'll get back on terrestrial and recreate that new image again to put me out there, because she says, because the psychics on radio all died out. I was the original from K-Big with Fred in 1994, but as CBS folded in 2009, as you know, all the talk shows went away. Then everything came on to podcasts, and everybody's got like a pebble of sand out there. Dean, who owns Talk 4 TV, I have known over 10 years. I worked with him many years ago, and there was no instant gratification, so I left, and I'm still trying to find that instant gratification. Hello, Dean. If you're there listening, pop in, or Rebel, call him and tell him to pop up and say hi. But yeah, I am creative, and yes,
because the psychics back in the 70s and 80s, they were everywhere. It was huge.
Well, it was more like in the 90s.
Okay.
Not quite the 70s and 80s. That was still the hippie movement, and the card readers started coming up, but more the charlatans. The actual psychic phenomena, Dave, hit when I was on Psychic Friends Network. They were the ones to bring it to TV. That was 1992. I was in that infomercial.
Those were all over
they
the
were
air
day and night, 24/7, United States and Canada, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Guam. And I was selected out of one of the readers to go in the infomercials. That was my real start to fame. I was on that thing 24/7. It was a total buyout, but it was Dionne Warwick, Linda Georgian, who's now deceased. And I was in the first episode in 1992. They had 11 seasons or 13 seasons, and I was in the first 2. And there's old tapes out there. Yeah,
I was always skeptical of that, and I think skepticism is part of my, either you can believe it, but it has to be proven.
That's what I always say. How can you judge and be skeptical or tell me it doesn't exist until you experience it?
Right.
So you started experiencing it.
I did. And that's what leads us into the candles.
That's correct. But before that, I comped you. I was doing, this is pre-lockdown, that I had my license, and I had my insurance for my medical malpractice insurance to do customized laser for inch loss and weight loss using B3 laser out of England. And Dave was even here when I took my exam in England, and he was here in the room with me as I was asked him. I did an oral exam, got my certification, got to be licensed in this in order to work on people's bodies. And I was going into a different direction. And then I thought, well, after lockdown, I don't know that I want to do that again. I can, but I got more involved with my candles, and I do, of course, my readings. I channel people still. I talk to dead people all the time. I'm almost done with the book. My editor and I had some delays this year. We're meeting Friday. But with the candles, Dave took pictures. Dave would say, well, what is this? So I would show him there's oils, or there's candles, or I would show him there's petitions. And he would come with his camera. He would come with all the lighting. We set up this beautiful studio in my studio. And even before that, we did that little commercial for that guy in KCOP that didn't go anywhere. And remember that? So we started to market. And Dave would take the candles and set it up, and I would give a little voiceover for like 20 seconds. We put everything together with the beautiful photography that you see at lindasalvin.com. That's all due to Dave. Then I said, here, why don't you try this? And then
I wasn't sure.
Why did you try one? Well, what is it?
because I'd never heard. I guess the candles have been around. Healing candles have been around for a while, but I had never heard of it.
Well,
And
mine are a little bit more than healing and spiritual because mine are based on Santeria and Kabbalah. It's a very different line than anybody
mhm.
else out there. So it was more than just new because it was kind of spooky.
And I was skeptical of that. I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
love that.
okay, candles, sure, let's. But anyway,
What
then
can they
you.
do for me? What did I do for you first? I gave you the good luck power to be. I think we gave you good luck before I gave you the. No. I gave you
It was
the soulmate for your wife.
soulmate for my wife,
Why'd you talk about that? Because I
and
think I went on a trip and left you, right?
right, you gave me one candle, and you mixed up the oils and there was some powders and some herbs,
And the herbs, all of the
and then
ingredients,
the little round partition or petition.
petitions. You get a bag of
Yeah,
herbs, and
that's
you
the
get
stuff right there.
powders, which are from Mexico, people.
Hmm.
There's gold, silver, and white mixed up. Where are we? There's the camera. So
Yeah.
you get some powders, and then there's petition paper. Go on.
So you mixed it all up, and then and
That's called
instructed me
dressing the candle. That's
dressing the
called
candles.
dressing the candle.
And so, and then I wrote the petition, and she said, you just said, scribble it, think of it, but write it down and write it down so it's not legible,
Right?
only in your own mind and to higher powers, I guess.
Yeah, it's out there.
So I did that, and then you take the petition and you burn it in the flame, stir the ashes in the mixture,
Solution.
in the solution, light the candle and let it burn. And my candle burned all the way down to the bottom till there was nothing left.
Right.
And within, that later that week, my wife was like, "Oh, hi, Dave." And she was very friendly, very talkative, very engaging. And it was just like
Different.
a little more interested in me
You.
than usual. Because, we've been married 28 years, and, you get kind of used to people after a while. And so I burned this candle, and all of a sudden she started coming on to me. And it was like,
And that's only the first, not the three. Come on.
and that was one candle. And so
That's soulmate power.
that was the soulmate power.
They're
And I
the
thought,
pink ones, people at wicksofwisdom.net or lindasalvin.com. Go on.
but I was not completely sold. Because these candles, they work both ways. You have to put in a little bit of effort, and the universe has to
Right. And if
counter
it's not
that.
meant to be, it's not going to happen no matter how many you burn, or they're going to happen
Mhm.
so fast you're going to be overwhelmed or like spooked like Dave was. Go on.
Right. And so I knew what it's not I knew what I was doing with the candle and what I wanted to. So maybe I was a little more receptive or responsive or
Well, you're also
sensitive.
aware and curious and watching.
And I was a little more receptive to my wife. And so that I was in my mind, I was thinking, well, that's probably what it is. The candle didn't have much to do with it.
No, of course not.
And then but it did work. It did work. Our relationship became tighter, a little closer,
More
better
intimate.
communication, more touching, more feeling.
Is it time for more? Do you want more candles? There's
No,
always more
things have been going pretty good.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
something else
this is
happened.
before he had long hair. This is before the lockdown, folks. So he let
Right.
his hair grow during the lockdown, and that's like 3.5 years ago. Then we were talking one day. I
Mhm.
said, why don't you test some more? This is after one of the whatever we were working on, some project. Go on.
So you gave me a set of candles this time. This was 3 candles. And
Yep.
the type of candle it was the
Soulmate
soulmate
for
power.
her.
Yeah. And so I did those.
Dave tested something.
Yeah, I tested something that would not normally happen, just
Why
to
did you want to
see.
talk about it?
You can't wish for $1 million, and then all of a sudden you wake up and there's $1 million in your bank
No,
account.
but you can burn them and win in Vegas. I've got plenty of testimonials. There are, but I don't sell them for the lottery. Go on.
So I thought, well, how about if someone from my past could think of me and contact me?
Yeah, let's really test Linda's candles. So
And this,
before we go to the past, how did you know this girl?
Oh, we had dated in high school, and we had lost contact. I'd go back every once in a while, but I'd never see her and stuff. So, but we had a fairly close relationship, and but it
We
was high
had death
school. It was
experience around her too.
yeah, and we did go to Hawaii together, and then something happened there that I had a
You can
near
talk
death.
about it.
I had
Yeah.
a near death experience there,
Got caught
and
in a
so
riptide.
yeah, I got caught in a riptide. Was swimming in the ocean in Makapu Beach on Oahu Island, and got caught in a riptide, and it kept pulling me out and pulling me out, and then finally I just got so tired I couldn't keep my head above water. Went down a couple of times, went down a couple of times, and then I felt this. Um, I started floating up above my body.
Like the hand of God, an angel.
Yeah, and so I could see myself, and I I'm not sure what they call that, but I could see myself.
Out of body experience.
Yeah, I was like 20 or 30 feet above the water, watching myself drown, and it was almost a peaceful, calming feeling,
Mhm.
like I knew something bad was going to happen, and I couldn't really stop it. So I was floating up above, looking down at my body, and then I saw myself my dead, lifeless body laying on the beach, and I had drowned. But then I felt a hand grab me and pulled me in, and my friend had notified the lifeguard, and he swam out and saved my life.
But there
So,
was a
but
spiritual hand helping you
oh,
stay alive, even though you
hmm
had the out of body experience while you were
yes,
going through the undertow of the waves, and you survived it. So yes, not only did you have a near death experience and an out of body experience, somebody who talks to the dead and has had out of body and near death experiences moves in next door to you, and then is
hmm
a witch with candles, and then TV and radio and writing and all this, like all of a sudden, whatever looks like she doesn't belong here belongs here.
right.
And
I thought my
after,
experience was unique, and it
yeah,
it didn't happen to anybody else. It only happened to me because I had imagined, the ambulance backing up onto the sand and loading my body onto the.
but we didn't talk about these things back then, Dave. And near death
No.
and out of body experiences really became more prominent due to the internet broadcasting system and the podcasts as
Hmm.
over the last 15, 20 years, because I was talking about it on AM and FM before anybody was. And then the internet exploded with it. And it brings people like you and me together to say, hey, it's not unusual. It's just now you've got somebody I just got chills. When you get chills, it's confirmation of spirit. So you're communicating with somebody that understands and has been there, done that on a different level.
That must be it, because I had never discussed it with anyone else besides you. That even to this day, I don't go any further past my knees or maybe waist deep when I go to the beach. And, here in LA, there's a lot of beaches and a lot of sunny weather and a lot of opportunities to go out into the water. But still, and this was many,
No, the
many,
fear and the
many
anxiety is still
decades,
there.
it's
Yeah.
still with me. It's
Yeah,
still
that's
with me.
PTSD regarding the
Hmm.
water and the near death experience.
Yeah. So water
So,
gets up to here and I start to I
yeah, you
start to
think you're going to
panic.
drown or choke.
Yeah.
So this
So,
is Dave. I'm talking to Dave Swafford, my next door neighbor here in Studio City, California. And he learns that 6 years ago, a psychic medium moves into his neighborhood where there's all these record producers and directors and top
actresses, actors.
actresses. I mean, big, big names are
Hmm.
on this block,
Yeah.
which was something exciting for me when I got here from the other town. But let's get back to the candles. So I wanted to bring back the story at the beach
Oh,
because with
mhm.
her,
Yeah.
which was the girl that you were thinking about, that you thought you would test the candles on. So
I
that's why I
wanted to
wanted
test a
people to hear
candle.
your story, that
So
you have history with this woman.
so I was trying to think of a scenario where I could test the candles with absolute proof that they worked. And I came up with the plan of I would write on the petition
Her name.
her name, contact me, call me, write me, whatever, visit. I
Was it
didn't.
like pop up after 40 years or something? How many
Oh,
years had it been, maybe? Really?
well, 18. We
Yeah,
were
and you're
18,
60
and
something
I'm
now.
68 now, so that's 50 years. So, so 50 years of silence between us. And so I lit the first candle, burned the
Mhm,
petition with her
mhm.
name, the desire that I
Here's the
had,
love oil, people. There's
and
4
the
different
oil.
types of oils in here. Yeah.
So there were four different
4 little
bottles of
bottles,
oil. So I put a
the
little bit in
formula.
each, yeah, and then stirred it up with the powder and the herbs, yeah. So there were
Mhm.
4 different bottles of oil, and they each did something different, I guess.
Yes, they do. Stop right there. That's a great point, because here's 4 bottles, each set, as people will see, and as you know, when you took the photographs, we had to set up the 3 different candles of different colors, and certain colors had different types of oils with them. There are about 17 different formulas. Think banana bread, chocolate chip cookies, pumpkin pie. 3 desserts, 3 totally different recipes. Some have the same ingredients, some don't, but somehow you come up with 3 different desserts. Same thing in candle magic, folks. You got formulas or recipes. So what I'm holding here is for the good luck power, which removes blocks, obstacles, and negativity. What Dave is talking about is my soulmate power. So he decided to test and stump the psychic
Yeah. I
and
wanted
go
to
after
prove
his
or
old
disprove.
girlfriend. Yeah, he wanted to show I was wrong.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, it wasn't anything malicious, but I just did want to find out for myself if they did work, because, I've heard a lot of your testimonials, and they're all very positive. And so I wanted to try it for myself because of my natural skepticism. And so I lit the first candle, wrote down the petition, burned it, stirred it in, let the candle burn. It burned all the way to the bottom. And then I went to the second candle. Halfway through the second candle, I get a phone call on my phone. "Hi, Dave." And it was her. She called me. And, I didn't have, 50 years. She didn't have my phone. I didn't give her my phone number. She had to call some of my friends, some of my buddies back home that I still keep in touch with in Olympia, and get the phone number and call. So she had to kind of go out of her way to be
Find
able
you.
to find me, and had no idea that I think she might have known that I lived in Los Angeles, but other
We're
than that, there were
493
no.
square miles here with 3 million people.
Yeah, so there was no way for her to, just out of the blue, but she called.
Really?
And,
Yeah.
so she called halfway through the second candle. I got the phone call. She called. We talked for 45 minutes, catching up. She's married, has a couple of kids, and, is happy, but
Of course it
was
stirred up feelings. Go
yeah,
on.
and it did stir up some feelings, because we talked for 45 minutes, hung up, then she sent me a text. And then the next day she sent me another text. And then the day after that she called again, but I wasn't available to answer. I didn't have my phone with me,
And then
so
I
I didn't.
walked over to Dave's to do some work, and he goes, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" He
Yeah.
goes, "She hasn't stopped calling. She called. Look at this. My texts, my phones. I have to have her stop. It won't stop." And that was only 2 candles.
Yeah, and so I went ahead and finished the second candle and burned the third with the, similar petition requests. And, but she kept calling, and then she would text. I blocked her on my text because it was getting a little
Oh,
bothersome, because I
yeah,
have no feelings for her anymore.
right.
It's just, just memories, nice memories of it all, but, no real interest
Pursuing it.
in pursuing or, maintaining contact for any
It's
reason
kind of
at
like a
all.
chemistry experiment.
Yeah, and
Only it was a
so
spiritual experiment.
I finally had to block her. I stopped taking her calls, and, then she had one of my friends call me and says, "Hey, how come you're not taking her calls?" So she was kinda going out of her way to,
Get your
reestablish
attention.
contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, "Hey, I'm married, I've got a family, I'm not interested," and so is she. So those candles are very powerful, and you have to be careful what you wish for, because
Yep.
mine my experiment, it worked. It
It
came
works.
true.
So Wicks of Wisdom work like a prescription for your soul. And when people call me off the air and they have a reading with me, and then I determine or assess what their needs are, whether it's money or to remove negativity, or it might be a soulmate situation. It might be a legal problem. It might be somebody. Yes, she did get what he wished for, but it's more than that, Misty, because this is it's candle magic. You're dealing with oils and you're dealing with spirits in these oils. There's real spirits in these oils. These are not something you get at the store. These are customized, and they're made by a Sanarian priest, and then I combined it with Kabbalah. So there's a very special technique that goes into all of this that is beyond what you can buy on eBay and Etsy and TikTok and whatever. This is real stuff. This is the real thing, people. And even though people have gone to different candle makers and companies, and just like in my video, Dave produced the video when I did what is about a 12-minute video on Wicks of Wisdom and candle magic, and you hear me say in the video, go to whoever you want to. However, mine are going to be different because, and then I analyze and qualify what's different. And the way that you get to that video is you have to buy the candles, because there's a hidden website page on my website that only those who have purchased the candles get to watch. So, it's not just be careful what you wish for, because I have done candles on people or opportunities and nothing happened. I have a very upset person in Tennessee, I believe, because the person he was in love with has moved out. So in a way, it backfired, but I always say, and it's in the PDF file that you get once you purchase and you understand the truth behind it, that it may go negative versus positive, but the universe is really speaking. You're getting your answer.
Right. And because you wouldn't really want someone to bend to your desires out of, they have to
No,
want
you're
to
not
do
being
it.
manipulated. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But the magic is like after 50 years, how all of a sudden did you do the soulmate candle and all of a sudden she pops up? That's the magic. That's the
Yeah.
beauty. That's the
And
testimony.
I didn't feel like it was a coincidence. There was
No,
no
it's the work.
coincidence about it. It was
Is
the
it odd or is
candles.
it God? Yep.
And I'm not sure if it was the flame or the petition and the
You can't figure
ashes.
it out. What it is, in Kabbalah, the soul, God is the soul of the candle is God, and the soul of man is the candle, and the flame when lit is the wick when lit is the flame, which is light, which is God. So essentially, we're feeding God our intention, our feelings, our desires, but it's the formulas. Why would I have kept somebody out of jail for 20 years? She was on the show last year. I may bring her back. Why, after 20 years, after a lawsuit in federal prison, was she let go? We did tons of candles. Why did this woman call back? Why have I seen people get married after they couldn't meet anybody? They do the soulmate candles, the good luck power. Why did somebody stop bleeding? I had Tony on a few weeks ago, who's a huge, successful health executive, and he's been buying my candles for 10 years. He gave all the testimonies about his career and a loved one who stopped bleeding that didn't need surgery when we thought she was going to need surgery. How does it work? We don't know. That's the magic. That's where magic comes in, not like the guy down the street that does magic on stage. This is a different type of magic. Those are tricks. This is spirit. So this is talking to the universe. I myself don't know all the hints as to why it works, but it's the formulas that I was trained in that you put it together, and these 4 equal good luck, and the red, green, purple, the red, green, gold, and brown equals money and success. There's a clear, green, blue, and something else for the legal. They're all different. I don't tell you what's in the oils, but in each bottle or each type of oil, there's over 22 essences made from bark and herbs and different types of essences that go in here besides the base of the oil. Can't give the secret away any more than they talk about their secret sauce and their formula. No. That's where nobody can go to an alchemist or to a head shop or any type of apothecary and say, I want this, because you can't figure out what my combination is. Is it just salt, pepper, garlic, and oregano? Oh, no, she doesn't use oregano. Well, maybe she uses this. You can't figure out my recipes or my formulas, folks. Nobody's ever been able to duplicate it. And that's why Wicks of Wisdom's been around since 1999. We've been on TV. We're going back out there on a new campaign because people like you, Dave, have seen the magic work, even though you can't see it, understand it. You don't have to even believe. That's why you're here as a skeptic that all of a sudden sees things that you can't cognitively address.
Well, because I've had tarot readings, and I've, went with a friend to a psychic one time, and they just came off as charlatans.
There's a lot out there.
And nothing ever panned out. Nothing worked. There was a certain amount of entertainment value in it, but that's all it was. There was no results. There was my skepticism remained.
Then you met me as your neighbor.
Right. And then you came into my life.
Yeah. I said to my attorney yesterday, he was saying that his son wants to get a car and probably get his license. I said, yeah, he wants to go across country and take a ride and just to explore. He goes, how did you? Oh, yeah, you're right. Because I just saw, he wants a car now. He wants to travel, not just to get a car to go down the street and go to school. No, he wants to travel. How do you know that? I'm a psychic, people. I became psychic in a plane crash in 1981, hit by a fire truck in 82, totaled a car in 84. And I was elevated into this other dimension of insight that is beyond your cognitive thinking, which is why I've had this career for over 30 years. And radio, it'll be 30 years in March that I started radio as the radio psychic. And then the candles came in 1999. And here we are in almost 2024. We just keep going. And the passion is helping people, and especially people like Dave, where it's new. And I get to show and explain and teach and help. And it'll just still be like, yeah, but how did that work?
Well, I was enlightened just by making some of the videos that are on your website. And then it kind of gave me a little bit of background to it. So I could understand why, what the history of these candles were and why they worked the way they did. And it was enlightening. And so
it was educational, and I appreciated it. Yeah, as you were taping me, you were still listening.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a couple new ones. We'll update it next year.
But it would.
But you've learned.
Yeah, it would help anyone who is even slightly interested in these candles to go back and watch some of these videos where you explain your history and your background and your near-death experiences, so that they could, it's like kind of pull the cover off the mystery of it. So it just seems a little. It seems like a more reasonable way to go.
Thank you. Yeah, people have access to me on my website at lindasalvin.com. You can listen to my shows 24 hours a day at drlindaradio.com. We also now have Psychic Solutions podcast.com going to the station. So you can always hear shows from 20 years ago and 5 months ago. And then, of course, on YouTube at Dr. Linda Salvin. You see this show will be up in about 20 minutes after we're off the air. And everything just sits there in the archives. It's a whole new world. You don't have to just send out photos and tapes and MP3s. It's just you click and there you are. So yeah, Dr. Linda Radio, Dave helped build that that's another team effort we had with engineers and Chris in Iowa. And then we have Jonathan in Colorado. And then we have you and me here. And there was one other person involved with some of that, and just building the station took 3 years. Alon, my engineer, took 3 years to build the station. There's a lot of technical stuff and internet stuff and platform stuff and different computers. And I mean, it's just people think, oh, how easy. Where have you been? Working to get to work. But Dave, you've just been a blessing, and I just love knowing that you're there, and I love the work that you do. And I know Fred has complimented your work when he sees how you take his voiceover and then apply the images, and we make the new intro and the outro. That's what they're called, people. When you're seeing the beginning of the show, it's called an intro. But all of it had 3 or 4 people in that mix, mostly Fred and Dave, And even though Fred has been on the show doing astrology, his background is 50 years in radio, award-winning, just like you, award-winning people, talent that you've spent your time, you worked and worked and worked. You're retired. He's retired. I need you guys because I'm not retiring yet.
You can't.
No, I can't. I can't. I don't have a rich husband yet. When he comes, I hope he'll be rich when I meet him. But well, I've already met him. I know who I'm marrying. But anyway, because I'm a psychic and I know what's going on. But the opportunities are endless. I've helped people with health. The woman in Washington State actually had skin cancer and it went away doing the health and wellness power candles. The woman who was bleeding in Texas stopped bleeding. I've had a Broadway dancer years ago who used to work for me. Her back went out. She did the health and wellness. She was healthier. Money and success. I've seen people sell and make money during the fall of the economy. I've seen people get new jobs. I've seen people get rid of the third wheel, the backstabbers, the people who are causing havoc. I have harmony power to bring in harmony for dysfunctional situations, especially at the holiday time when you have a family dysfunction. You want to calm it all down with balance and harmony. I have something for almost everything. And then I had one girl who's local found me on when I was on a show a few weeks ago. She has a huge problem back east somewhere, and she needed 7 different sets to attack or determine the change that she has going on in some financial situation. So if you have a question, you call me, I assess it. You don't just order the candles without knowing if it's right. I don't want you wasting your money or your time or my time. I need to know what it is you want to accomplish, and I can guide you as to what set is best for that situation at that time. Do I continue to burn candles? All the time. Money and success, good luck power, the soulmate power, the harmony power. There's also a couple of formulas to get rid of some of the negative people or to kind of give them a little push to shut up. I have shut up and silence power. I've got the legal, like I said, the girls that didn't go to jail for 20 years when she was sentenced. There's something for everything because it's all spirit. But it's how you do the petitions. It's in the writing and it's in the oils. That's the magic. The rest is just the vessel to get it out there into the universe. So is it odd or is it God? And that's what magic is. How did you do that?
Right. But if someone had a problem, it would be best to contact you first or
Correct.
order the candles or...
No, I suggest they contact me first. That's a good question. To assess or let me figure out your love life, your finances, your career, your kids, where you're headed or what the problem is. And then I say, oh, you don't need that. You need this. So let me direct you to the best set to accomplish what you need quickly so you don't waste your time or your money. And not always will it work, like this poor guy that's really upset back east, but it's not my fault. Maybe the relationship was going out the window anyway. Yeah. And the candles could have emphasized that it wasn't going to work, even though they're trying to make it closer. The candles don't lie. Is it odd or is it God? That's what we find out at the end of every show and the end of every set of candles and every reading. Things will happen. I had one girl call me last week after 3 years. She told me everything I've told her about going to Vegas, getting a divorce, her new job, the salons. All came true. I'm going to have her on the show soon as a testimony because 3 years later, it all happened. I'm a psychic healer and a medium. You can reach me at lindasalvin.com or Dr. Linda at lindasalvin.com. And I want to thank again my wonderful neighbor, my skeptic turned believer in candle magic who does all the artwork for me, Dave Swafford. You're the best. Thank you so much.